Hi everyone, my name is Nicole. Welcome to the Yin Yoga series. Today our focus is energize. For those of us who aren't familiar, Yin Yoga is a style of yoga that's rooted in Chinese medicine and Buddhist mindfulness techniques, and it incorporates these practices with the traditional Indian Hatha yoga and to create a potent movement therapy that targets the fascial trains or the energetic meridians in Chinese medicine. And so in Yin Yoga, we spend a little bit more time in each pose. We commit to stillness in the pose, and we consciously relax all of our muscles. So it's a nice, gentle, passive form of yoga. Today, for our practice, you will need a couple blocks. If you don't have blocks, some nice, thick, sturdy books will do just fine. Blankets and a couple, one or two bolsters or cushions for support. You can use bed pillows as well. Those will work just fine. So let's begin our practice. Go ahead and find a comfortable seated position. And as you begin our practice, go ahead and bring your eyes to a soft low gaze or close them altogether as we symbolically turn our gaze inward towards sensation during our time here together. Begin to feel into the sensations of the body, noticing the sit bones on the floor, where your feet meet the floor, where your hands might be lying on your lap or on your knees or on the floor. Go ahead and allow the sit bones to sink into the floor while simultaneously lifting the crown of the head towards the ceiling, asking for some elongation in the spine. Checking in, making sure there's no holding in the eyes, around the eyes, the jaw area, making sure there's a nice space for the tongue to sit. Checking in with the shoulders, making sure they're nice and heavy. Making sure there's no holding in the bellies, that it's soft and supple for the breath. And then checking in with the pelvic floor, making sure there's no unnecessary tension here. Now begin to shift your attention towards your breath, just noticing and observing how your breath is moving through you in this moment. Notice the expansion and the contraction with the inhale and the exhale. Just observing and noticing the sensations in the body as we breathe. Good. Now we'll start a technique called three-part breathing, where we'll first breathe into the lower belly, then the ribs, and then the upper chest. And as we do this, on the inhale, we will raise our arms above our head. So it will look like inhale 1 in the belly, inhale 2 in the ribs, inhale 3 into the upper chest. On the exhale, we'll exhale on the opposite, so we'll start by exhaling in the upper chest, releasing the ribs, and finally breathing out the lower belly. So let's do this all together on your next inhale. Inhale lower belly, inhale ribs, inhale upper chest, exhale upper chest, ribs, lower belly. Go ahead and do this at your own pace. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. One more breath like this. start to open some of the joints, starting with the neck. So just slow, soft, turn your neck to one side. And on the inhale, go ahead and drop the chin towards your chest. And then on the inhale, go ahead and bring it right back up to the side. Exhaling, bringing the chin to the ceiling. Inhale, back to the side. Exhale, dropping the chin towards the chest. Go ahead and continue this at your own pace. Just some nice, gentle rotations of the neck. When that feels complete for you, go ahead and bring your head back to a neutral. And we'll go to the other side. So turn your head to the other side. Tuck the chin to the chest. Inhale, turning the neck. Exhale, chin to the ceiling. Continue this rotation at your own pace. Just a few moments here. And that feels complete for you, bringing the head back to neutral. And then we're going to go ahead and open the shoulders. So on the inhale, bring the shoulders up. Exhale, bringing them back and down. Inhale, shoulders come up to the ears. Exhale, back and down, nice and heavy. You can do this a few more times at your own pace. When that feels complete, switching the other direction, inhale, shoulders to the ears, exhale, shoulders come forward and down. Just opening up the space in the neck and the shoulders here, waking these joints up. Whenever that feels complete for you, coming back to the neutral, bringing the hands to the knees here, we're going to just start a nice, slow and steady rock. So first we'll bring our heart space forward. We're rocking the pelvis forward, bringing the pelvis towards the mat there as it goes down. And on the exhale, we'll go ahead and concave the chest, and the pelvis will tilt with us and tilt up. So it's tucked towards the navel. Inhale, pelvis tilts down, chest comes to forward. Exhale, concave the spine, pelvis tucks forward towards the navel. Go ahead and continue this at your own pace, using the breath as a guide. So we're opening the space in the chest and the back, but see how deeply you can feel that opening into the pelvis and up into the neck. Coming to a neutral when that feels complete. And then we're going to go ahead and lean to one side and then concave the spine towards the back, coming around to the other side, leaning the chest forward. So we're having this nice rolling motion of the spine in a circle here. And as you do so, notice the rocking of the pelvis as you lean forward and backwards, opening up. And as you roll over each hip joint, see if you can feel the hips starting to open there. When that feels complete, switching to the other side, other direction. We're going to work on opening the hips today to energize the body. A lot of the fascial trains and the energetic meridians meet and run through the hips. So when the hips are open, we are feeling nice and energized and vitalized as all of the nourishing energy and blood and fluids can flow throughout the body with ease. Coming back to neutral when that feels complete for you, and we're going to go ahead and begin our practice today. So go ahead and allow the legs to spread apart as wide as is available for you today. Remove the flesh from under your sit bones if that feels necessary for you. We're going to go ahead and ground the sit bones into the floor, making sure that the legs are nice and relaxed. We're going to have a nice elongated spine as we inhale, bringing our arms above our head, raising the crown towards the ceiling. And on the exhale, go ahead and drape ourselves forward. Now we're not efforting or gripping here, but simply allowing gravity to do the work. As our arms are heavy on the ground and our head and our neck follows, nice and relaxed. Now the target area for this stretch here is going to be the inner area of our thighs. And working with this area, we want to make sure that there's no short, sharp stabbing or pinching, but rather the stretch is nice and broad and wide across the inner thigh. Make sure that the upper body is allowing gravity to do the work. There's no unnecessary tension or holding here. The neck and the head are nice and heavy. You can go ahead and give them a shake side to side and up and down to ensure that they're nice and heavy and relaxed. Checking in with the shoulders here, making sure the shoulders are nice and relaxed as well, away from the ears. The pelvic floor is nice and soft, as well as the belly is supple. The jaw is nice and relaxed with some space for the tongue to sit, as well as the eyes, the area around the eyes are nice and soft. Go ahead and scan the body for any other areas of tension, any other spaces in the body that feel like they're gripping, holding, and see if you can relax them a little bit more. As the mind begins to wander, we can gently, compassionately, slowly bring the mind and the awareness back to the present moment, using our breath and the sensations in our body as an anchor to the present moment. I invite you to explore the sensations in the body that you may be experiencing in this shape. And just notice which areas feel more alive, more activated, more energized, more awake. And see if you can, with your awareness on the space that feels nice and energized, see if you can spread that good, energized feeling throughout the rest of the body. Just exploring how that feels to use your awareness to spread that energized, awake aliveness, and seeing how it feels as it spreads, how far it spreads. Just exploring that. Noticing if there are any areas of the body that feel a little heavy, a little sleepy, like they could use some help coming online, and seeing if you can spread that energized feeling to that part of the body, making them feel like a blended, energized, awake aliveness. using our breath as an anchor to bring us back to the present moment. Anytime the mind wanders, which is completely normal, just being soft and gentle with the mind as we bring it back to the present moment. Few more breaths in this pose here as we explore those sensations that we're experiencing, just witnessing and observing. Coming back to the breath whenever we need to. When that feels complete for you, we're going to very slowly and gently push ourselves back up to a seated position. No rush here, taking our time. When that feels complete, go ahead and manually lift the knees here as we bring our legs back to center. Find yourself to a nice seated position that's comfortable for you as we just explore the sensations in the body, any shifts or changes that have happened as a result of the last shape that we explored. Do any of those places that felt alive feel even more awake than they did before? Any areas that felt like they needed to be woken up, do they feel like they are more energized in any way? Just observing any changes, and if you're not noticing anything, that's completely fine as well. Moving into the next pose here, go ahead and find your blocks. Now we're going to bring the blocks to either side of us, and we're going to bring one leg forward and one leg behind us, and push ourselves up onto the block. Now with the back leg here, the invitation is to bring it as far back as is available. And if you're going to need a little bit more support under the knee, if it feels like it needs a little bit more cushion, that's where our blanket will come into play. So you can bring your blanket to support the knee if necessary. And the front foot here, the ankle is in front of the knee, so it's nice and supported. The blocks that are at our side, go ahead and find a comfortable height. So it can be up and down, vertical here. It can be on the side. They can be flat on the ground. But the invitation here is to open up the front of the hip on the side, which the leg is behind us. So we want to have a nice opening that doesn't feel like there's any sharp, short pinching or stabbing in that area, but rather a nice broad stretch throughout the hip, down into the front of the thigh, and up into the abdomen. So go ahead and find the height that works best for you today. You can play with the position of the front foot, bringing it forward or backward, as long as it's in front of the knee. Once you find that position, go ahead and commit to stillness for a few minutes here. Checking in with the shoulders. In this position, they tend to shrug up towards the ears, so making sure that the shoulders are nice and away from the ears, engaged as they need to be. The spine is nice and long. Our skull here is nice and stacked over our shoulders. Checking in with the eyes, the areas around the eyes, making sure there's no holding here, as well as the jaw, making sure that's nice and relaxed. Checking in with the abdomen, making sure that it's just as engaged as it needs to be, as well as the pelvic floor, making sure that's nice and relaxed. You may begin to notice some intense sensations or not, and I invite you to just explore the sensation and notice how it vitalizes the tissues around the sensation that you're feeling. See if you can feel into the vital energy that is being brought to this area, and see if you can spread that vital energy, that aliveness, throughout the rest of the tissues. Just exploring that and using, of course, our breath as an anchor to bring us back to the present moment whenever the mind wanders, which is completely normal. Softly and gently bringing the mind back to the practice whenever it wanders. You can experiment with using the breath to direct this vital energy to spread throughout the tissues. Few more breaths in this pose here. Bringing that open spaciousness to the front of our hip there, creating space for the vital energy to flow. Whenever that feels complete for you, you can go ahead and walk your foot back just a little bit, enough so that you can release yourself from the blocks. Hands come to the sides, and we're going to walk our foot over to the opposite side here and lower ourselves down to the floor. If you need to remove the blanket, go ahead and do so now. So in this position, you can go ahead and experiment with the shape of the knee and the ankle. So your ankle might be a little bit closer to you, to the groin. The knee might be closer to the center or further to the side. But the invitation is to feel, again, a nice broad stretch, not only in the front of the hip, but also the outside of the thigh on the bent leg. So go ahead and find the position of the knee and the ankle that feels like you can get a nice broad stretch on the outer thigh. We don't want any, again, localized, sharp, stabbing, pinching pain. We want a nice broad stretch. And if you are feeling that, definitely take your time nice and slowly coming out of the posture. And the invitation here is to lower ourselves down onto the mat. If that's not available and it feels like up here resting on our hands is enough of a stretch, then by all means stay in this position. But if it's available, you can come down onto the mat. Instead of being on our forearms here, we will offer ourselves a cushion and bring ourselves to a nice, comfortable, supported position. If you feel like even more of a stretch is available for you today, you can remove the blanket or the cushion and find yourself all the way onto the mat. Again, we want a nice broad stretch in the outer thigh. And begin to just notice the sensations in the area as the vital energy begins to flow into the tissues and through the fascial planes, bringing vital energy, supplying it with nourishing blood and nutrients and fluids, energizing and vitalizing the hips and the whole body. Again, using our breath as an anchor to bring us back to the present moment and exploring this vitalized sensation that we're experiencing and seeing if we can spread that vitalized energy throughout the rest of the body. As the mind wanders, just noticing the thoughts that arise without judgment, allowing the thought to exist and fade away as we use the sensations in our body and the breath to bring us back to the practice here and now. Explore using the breath to direct the energy into the space where you're feeling the sensations. Seeing if that can amplify the vitalized energy flow. A few more breaths in this pose here. Making sure the shoulders are nice and heavy away from the ears. The abdomen is nice and soft and supple. Whenever that feels complete for you, very slowly and gently bringing our arms to the side and raising ourselves back up. Nice and slow and gentle. Go ahead and bring yourself to a seated position, slowly and gently here. And find yourself to lie on your back. We'll just take a few moments here to explore the sensations that we're experiencing in the body. Noticing the areas that do feel alive and awake. Just observing the areas that felt a little sleepy before, noticing if they feel any more online than they did before. Just observing without judgment. Exploring the shifts that have taken place since we began our practice here together. Whenever that feels complete for you, very slowly bringing ourselves back up to a seated position, no rush here, as we begin to do the same thing on the other side. So go ahead and grab your blocks. And go ahead and bring the other leg forward that wasn't forward before and kick the other leg back, making sure that the cushion is, or our blanket is nearby for our knee if necessary. Going ahead and pushing ourselves up onto the block, bringing the knee back as far as is available for us today. Finding a block height that is going to offer a nice broad stretch through the front of the hip into the front of the thigh and into the front of the abdomen. Making sure that the ankle is in front of the knee here, so the knees and ankles are nice and supported. And if you need to, again, bringing the blanket under the knee. So once you find a comfortable position for you that offers that nice broad stretch, we're going to go ahead and commit to stillness for just a few minutes here. Go ahead and notice the areas where you are experiencing the sensations without judgment, just noticing and observing. Checking in with the shoulders here, making sure the shoulders are nice and relaxed and away from the ears. That the spine is nice and straight. The muscles of the eyes, around the eyes, are nice and relaxed, as well as the jaw. Checking in with the abdomen here, making sure that the core is nice and soft and supple, as engaged as it needs to be. Also the pelvic floor, making sure there's no unnecessary tension or holding here. As the sensations may begin to intensify for you, see if you can feel into, again, that vital energy flow that is being brought to these tissues. Just noticing that aliveness that is becoming, without judgment, without preference, just noticing and observing. Again, using our breath as the anchor to bring us back to our practice in the present moment, here and now. You can go ahead and explore how the sensations, that vitalized, energized feeling feels, and seeing if you can use your awareness to spread that energized feeling throughout the rest of the body. How deeply can you feel into that vital life force, and how much can you spread it, and how deeply can you feel into it? Just a few more moments in this pose here, using our breath as an anchor. Being gentle with the mind as we bring it back to the present moment without judgments, just softly and gently, bringing the mind back to the present moment. And on your next exhale, go ahead and take your time, walking this foot back just far enough so that you can release your blocks. And then we're going to go ahead and walk that foot to the opposite side and lower ourselves down onto the mat. Again, finding a position that offers a nice broad stretch in the outer thigh here on the outside. And so, again, experimenting with the placement of the ankle, maybe closer to the groin or further away. The knee might be closer to the center or further outside, whatever is most comfortable for you and accessible for you today. Making sure that a cushion or that soft blanket is nearby. We're looking for that support. And as we find that position that offers that nice broad stretch to the outer thigh here, we can either stay here if that feels like it's enough for us today, or we can slowly walk ourselves down to some support. Finding that nice position, that nice shape that's going to be accessible for you today to offer some nice broad stretch to the outer thigh here. Again, if more is available for you, you can absolutely remove the cushion and find yourself to the mat. Checking in with the shoulders here, making sure that they're nice and heavy away from the ears, as well as the core, our abdomen, and the pelvic floor are as relaxed as they can be. Checking in with the jaw and the eyes, making sure there's no holding here. Scanning the body for any other areas that are gripping unnecessarily, any tension that can be relaxed, softened. And as we begin to feel into the sensations that this shape offers, just again noticing the sensations without judgment, without preference, just observing. Seeing if we can feel into that vital life force that's being brought into the tissues here. Just exploring how deeply we can feel into that. Observe if you can feel the natural spread of this vital, energized flow from these tissues into the space around it. So maybe notice if you can feel that energy, that alive awakeness, spreading from the outer thigh up into the back or down into the leg. Does it go into the rest of the body? How far does that vital energy flow spread naturally for you by just observing it? Again, as the mind wanders, just gently, politely, bringing the mind back to the present moment with the breath and bringing our awareness back to the sensations in the body. You can explore using the breath to help that spread of that vital energy throughout the body, or just continue to observe it naturally spread. A few more breaths in this pose here. Whenever that feels complete for you, very slowly, very gently, bringing our arms to our sides, taking our time here, very slowly, gently, pushing ourselves back up. And again, bringing our legs out in front of us, very slowly and gently, taking our time, no rush here. And finding ourselves into a nice, comfortable position lying down on our backs for a moment here. And we'll take this time to just explore again any shifts, any changes or differences in the body and the mind that have taken place since we began our practice here together. How alive does your body feel compared to when we began the practice? Can you feel into that vital energy flow that is available throughout the whole body as we unlocked and unwind the hips there, where a lot of the energetic meridians or channels and fascial trains run through, creating space for our vital energy to flow. And whenever that feels complete for you, go ahead and push yourself up to a seated position, finding a comfortable cross-legged position that feels good for you. And that will wrap up our practice together today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have an energized day.